Carensac. Carensac, yeah. For those who don't know, Carensac is a licorice with some sweets around and very colored. I think you have Malabar. No? Yes. So I don't know how you feel by smelling that. Does it bring you some memories or? Tu fais les deux? So, in the same way, smells associated with very bad experience, emotionally bad experience, will have the capacity to bring you back in the same emotional stage if you smell that smell. So overall, olfaction is a powerful sense that touches in subconscious and non-conscious way. But smelling or an odor is also a special piece of experience that can trigger emotion to you depending on who you are and what you like, what you don't like. It's a choice. And I would talk about perfume as a piece of art. What is art? I would define art as a combination of elements whose objective is to trigger emotion, sensation, thoughts, reactions. And you get there by mixing personal vision and a technical know-how. And this makes you able to share some communication, emotional communication with others. If you look on internet, Wikipedia and so on, and you see what are the arts, you don't find there perfumery and you don't find cooking. Or those two arts refers to the main senses. So why is it like this? Because when we create perfumes, we can correlate with what you do in other arts. If you look at movies like Le Fabuleux Destin d'Amélie Poulain, there was a clear choice of overdose of reds and greens. And the next one, which is just below, Un long dimanche de fiançailles, there was a choice for making yellow. If you look, so this is a clear choice for choosing a color, an overdose of a color. Then you have other ways to create, is to mix things you would have never mixed, and you get to something new. Or like finding texture, like Van Gogh. But in all those aspects, you make a choice on the technique or the elements you want to highlight to create a signature. Perfumery does that as well, so why shouldn't it be an art? So, talking about the art of perfumery, if you create something new, for human being, a new smell, if you look back when you were in nature, a new smell can be very dangerous. So, to be able to like a fragrance, you first need to identify it as a friend. It needs some time, it needs some experience. We've seen we need repeated exposure to get also more receptors for it, maybe. So, if you want really to bring a new smell to a public, you need to be careful to the context in which it is presented. Come back to the five senses. There is a new smell. How does it connect from the communication-wise to the other four senses? So you need to be congruent. If you are congruent, people can trust you. When a perfumer searches for creativity for new smell, of course, he visits places, he has his own vision of the world, or he falls in love with a new ingredient, a new chemical, a new natural. He can look at the other arts. What if I had to create the smell of Le Fabuleux Destin d'Amélie Poulain? I don't know yet. He can look at all sorts of products. Can be wine, can be whiskies, can be other fine fragrances or perfume from products, shower gel. Can look at nature. Some people go in nature and fish for scent. Can be a nice cooking smell. You also discover chemistry in your pan. You can look at competition, but not only at competition. We tend to do that too much today. We can look at fine fragrance, because fine fragrance perfume I pay to and have long time to design new fragrances where you have maybe less time for the product, so again from there. You can look about good things from the past. We see that a lot. The past is revisited constantly. And then you can have passion for mixing unexpected things. Well, perfumer has to be creative, but he also has to take care of market data. What are consumers having today? What do they like? What do they live? The product in which the perfume will go. Is it an acidic product, a basic product, a sticky base? What kind of temperature is going to be maintained? Scientific data. Well, do I need to have volatile ingredient? Do I need residual ingredient? Do I need ingredients that go through little holes, or things that are soluble in oils, or things soluble in water? Safety data. Now, a perfumer needs to read a big dictionary before creating a fragrance. Each customer has a different look. It's so complex that everybody has a different read at it. So each time you create a perfume for a different person, you need to reread the dictionary. Of course, the cost. And those days, there is big variation due to petroleum crisis on the cost. Then we need to be, and that's linking to creative, to fashion and trends. And also to know if there is a consumer test at the end, how is this consumer test going to be managed? Because this can impact whether new things will be favorized or you need to be very conservative. Then you need to take care of your emotions. But so at the end, creating a new fragrance may be more the results of a certain alchemy of different function and knowledge than just doing a nice perfume. You need to have everything right. When you create a smell, in fact, you are mixing ingredients to create another character, which will be interacting with the receptors of the olfaction system. But you will also create a sensation, and this sensation is a touch effect on your internal nose mucosa, which is going to be triggered by the trigeminal nerve activation. Professor Thomas Hummel has published lots of articles on the effect of 70% of the perfume ingredients have a real action on the trigeminal nerve. So sometimes we use words when we create perfume like it's creamy, it's soft, it's harsh, and those are sensation wording, it's not a character wording. So perfume components can be, so it's a mixture of ingredients. I would say a good perfume for me should be containing chemicals and naturals, because both bring different aspects in the perfume. Chemicals giving performance or originality, and naturals giving richness. We use different classes of chemicals, and we have to mix those things depending on the requirement of the perfume and the product where it's gonna go. When we blend components, we can start by mixing only a few molecules to create kind of a new smell. And we saw that depending on how it acts on the different receptors and how it combines in the brain, this is a very important aspect of the creation. We can start with an overdose. We say, well, I will overdose these molecules and I will just wrap around it to make it acceptable. Or you mix molecules who have never mixed together. You can also look at existing formulation to get inspirations. But you can also start from living things headspace, like very exotic flowers. And this sometimes drives you also somewhere where you wouldn't have gone by just mixing ingredients, by thinking about them. So we have seen for creation, overdosing is a very important way of creation. But today what we see is lots of regulation of all sorts happens that sometimes either forbid a molecule or restrict the use of this molecule. So if your fragrance is based mainly on that ingredient, you may have big chance that you cannot do it anymore. And I know many people, when I see perfumer, talk about the great fragrance they had, they can't find anymore. It's just that sometimes just the fragrance cannot be created anymore. Those regulations touch chemicals, but also naturals. For example, the rose absolute, which is still a great ingredient in fine fragrance perfumery, is a lot restricted because of methyl eugenol it contains. So creativity, yes, but a bit limited. I would like you to smell a musk that is very restricted today, which is a muscitone. I think it's important for you to put a smell on names. So muscitone is one of the nitromusk of the good time of perfumery. Those type of musk were used in every fine fragrance. And even if modern perfumery has generated new musks, none of the new musks can have that richness. It's a full perfume by itself. It's very bodied, very caring. Muscitone, for example, has been restricted in its use just because it's supposed to be bioaccumulating. So it's a biodegradability problems. I think it's important to know that behind the list of ingredients that we have in our regulation is to realize behind there is a smell, sometimes a unique smell you cannot replace. It's just not chemistry, it's just not regulation. There is really something great for a human being behind that. So I said that if you want to launch a new perfume, you need to be careful on all the communication around it and ensure it's congruent. If the message you communicate to your consumer is congruent, suddenly your communication will look simple. The consumer will know what to choose. It's going to be an easy choice and a sort of trust for the product. It's like when you talk to someone who say words that are not congruent with the body language, you will have a trust problem. If you don't do that with your product, you will not have loyal consumers. So when a consumer uses a product that will trigger all his senses in the right way, it will generate strong emotions. The consumer will be able to see himself using the product. He will believe in your product. It's congruent. If you believe you do the right thing, you have pleasure. You trust, you keep buying the product, and then you experience an improved quality of life. If you think about the future of human being, I don't want to be too dark, but cities will be growing. More and more people will live in concrete environment and not at the seaside and not in the forest. So, and pollution also will proportionally increase. So, human beings living in megacities will be disconnected from nature and will have to endure pollution. Therefore, I would just say that keeping good smell, manage the air, breathe, and then we will be able to bring some well-being to humankind. Well, here is a bit an overview of the senses, and thanks for connecting with mine.